last man standing. Finish it.
90 to 99% of all American children play video games, and in 2023, we will most likely see the number of gamers reach 3 billion. Whether you're in that camp or not, what we're going to discuss in this video can drastically improve most aspects of your life, at least the ones that matter. I was introduced to gaming at an extremely young age because my babysitter had a Nintendo 64 and an SNES, so I was playing Mario, 007, Star Fox. Those were just fun as f. But that was only at the babysitter, so what really propelled me into the gaming world was when I discovered Minecraft. It was right around the time it originally came out in like 2009, 2010. So I was 8 or 9 and I got Minecraft and I was fully enthralled. I was playing every single chance I got. And from that point on, for the rest of my childhood, I was continuously plugged into these virtual worlds. And while I can't help but look back nostalgically because I was a kid, that was my childhood, I knew nothing else. I now know how detrimental that was for my life because I was addicted, as most kids are today. And this went from when I was 9 all the way to when I was almost 17. Right off the bat, it made me pretty antisocial, even with my own family. I vividly remember family gatherings where I would pull up, try to find an outlet, plug my laptop in, headphones on, and boom, I'm out of reality because I thought reality was boring because nothing was as rewarding as what the games had to offer. That went on until I discovered the gym, which was the first time in my life I found valuable rewards through real life effort. I was fully invested in something I could grind and actually get meaningful results. But I wasn't out of the woods yet. And I had 2 massive gaming binges. The first one was in 2020 during the lockdown, and the second one was in 2021 where I got obsessed with Call of Duty Mobile. I even made a YouTube channel to post Call of Duty Mobile content because that was my cope, because deep down I knew I wasn't being productive and I was wasting time every time I played. Also, the MX-9 got nerfed, which is exciting because I'm a big QQ9 guy, when in reality, I was just temporarily escaping my responsibilities, getting cheap dopamine releases, and getting emotional reactions from something that literally doesn't fucking matter.
I shot him! Bang! Oh! Hey.
And my story isn't unique at all. I'm sure most people can relate to that to some extent. Luckily, after that last stint, I quit for good, and it fell right in line with me starting my self-improvement journey. And as I progressed in that, I realized that life is literally the biggest, best, and most rewarding video game ever. And if you view it as such and adopt the perspectives we're going to discuss, you will begin to level up and be able to achieve any of the objectives you decide to pursue. And that's important because if you don't level up, you're an NPC. NPCs maintain the minimum stats necessary to just stay in the game. Most of their playtime is spent just grinding low-level quests that don't even grant them much XP or skills. Instead, these quests actually benefit other players, and they only leave the NPC with just enough to continue playing. And while obviously it's a pretty good metaphor for something like working a corporate job you hate, however, it's pretty similar when we waste times on things like TikTok, Instagram, pornography, video games. When you are doing these things, you are lowering some of your own levels like mental health and your capabilities to focus while helping other players such as the shareholders of the companies, the influencers on the platforms, which are both profiting off your time and attention spent. NPCs are doomed to play a game that benefits others for their own detriment. And ironically enough, this is actually the riskiest way to play because you're putting things like your financial, physical, mental well-being all in the hands of other players. But if you're watching this, you're not much of an NPC. So here is how to view life as the game it is and win. First of all, we have to acknowledge that we don't all spawn in with the same stats. We are all born into vastly different situations, and some players spend mostly the entire game complaining about their start, but in my opinion, that's just cope for them sucking. One may instantly spawn in with 1,000,000 coins, but that could result in other levels such as motivation, experience, and even happiness being lower than someone else. Regardless of our base stats, our spawn point, we need to focus on the variables that we can control and begin leveling up skills to go do some quests. The one thing video games have that is better compared to the real world is structure. You always have some kind of objective, a map, a compass guiding you towards the goals. In the real world, it's not so simple, and we need to select our own quests and then pursue the correlating objectives. Now there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different skills, objectives, quests. So what we need to do is take a step back and establish some kind of loose, semi-long form goals. This can be 6 months, a year, 5 years, even 10 years from now. But essentially it boils down to what do you want your life, and thus what do you want the version of yourself to be in the future? For example, I guess my quest would be creating a successful personal brand on the internet. So I set a goal for 115,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So when we go even more micro and look at my day-to-day objectives, my levers I need to pull each day, it looks something like record and upload some short or long form video. And you can pursue multiple quests at once as long as they're not super conflicting, and some even complement each other. For example, I'm also pursuing raising my physical and mental health. So my daily objectives are things like eat 200 grams of protein, meditate for 10 to 20 minutes, lift weights for an hour, and go on a walk. We don't actually need to know the exact outcome of our quest, even though it might be helpful to visualize what you think it might look like. But taking some time to realize what you truly want out of this life is at least going to give you a general direction. Kind of like how some games just have that compass that points you in the general direction of the next objective. And if you struggle to figure anything out based on trying to look into the future, you can also just think, what do you not like about your current situation? And most likely, I'm willing to bet that you know some objectives already that you should be doing every day. For example, I leveled up my videography skills, and I was able to use my in-game currency I saved up to buy a new camera, which in turn allowed me to further level up my videography skills. However, especially if you're a man, we can't just speedrun this game and unlock everything and achieve everything within a couple hours. Now, there's seemingly endless amounts of skills we could strive to level up, but I'd like to think of it as like a skill tree where there's a couple specific ones that kind of complement all the following ones, and you can't have this one without this one. For example, let's say you want to get some bitches, so you want to level up your Riz. So you go and approach some girls, but you never leveled up your confidence or your self-esteem. Safe to say it'll be a little harder to acquire the maidens. And maybe to level up the confidence, you need to have some objectives like going to the gym and getting more fit, or stop watching porn every day. Currently, I'm trying to level up both my creativity and my focus stats. So I purchased and took a writing course, which has gotten me much more systemized with my writing and taught me how to creatively track my thoughts. I've also been staying consistent with my meditation and avoiding distractions throughout the day to level up that focus. Throughout the game, we should strive to continuously level ourselves up in different aspects because it raises our probability of conquering quests and defeating any bosses that pop up. Now, some may argue things like, well, video games are infinitely more fun than real life. But to be fair, this is typically from players that aren't having a great gameplay currently. So instead of trying to level up and change that, they're just forfeiting some of their time to escape it. However, yes, sometimes things aren't fun and we lack the motivation and discipline to do certain things. But here's how you add a sense of challenge and perhaps even fun to even the little things in life. And that is that you need to gamify everything. Start to view all these little challenges throughout your day as a little boss battle or a mini game. This will help shift your perspective, so now anytime you feel that friction towards something you really should do, you can be like, oh, this is a little boss battle, like I need to push through the friction and beat it. For example, I take cold showers every morning, and they never get any less cold. However, when I feel that friction, that hesitancy, I know I'm gonna be uncomfortable for like 45 seconds, I make a game out of it. I see how quickly from when I turn on the water can I get in and under the water. Plus, when you view things this way, it may result in an even higher dopamine release from that task, which will reward you and give you even more motivation. However, it's important that you keep in mind that throughout all this, you need to be selecting challenges and bosses that are somewhat around your level. Because if they're too low, there's really no challenge, you don't get much XP, and worst of all, it's just boring. But if they're too hard, you have a very high chance of losing that battle, which is just going to demotivate you. One of the reasons most people complain that the game of life is too hard is because they aren't starting with small enough challenges. This results in just feeling overwhelmed, I can't do this, I'm not a high enough level, when in reality, you just need to go and face some zombies before you work your way up to the Ender Dragon. The perfect challenge is something that's not too far out of reach, but also not too easy. Coincidentally, this exact window is what tends to unlock flow state, which is essentially epic gamer mode, where your focus is locked in, you're thinking creatively, and you're enjoying it as you do it. A great way to start to gamify things is simply just track your habits. I've been recently making it a habit to cut down on my phone screen time, so every day, at the end of the day, I check my screen time. I see both how long I was on as well as what apps I was on, and then I think the next day I'm gonna strive to hit a new PR in that. You can do this with essentially anything because most likely all you need to do is just write some things down, maybe some boxes to check off, and eventually start to set up and strive for your personal bests, hitting records in the things. So through implementing this framework and these perspectives and starting to level up skills that pertain to health, wealth, spirituality, and socialization, you will be on the best path towards self-actualization, becoming the highest level, best version of yourself. And then your perspective will probably shift higher and you'll find something else you want to level up to, but regardless, you'll be happy during the process. But while we do want to focus on these huge quests to conquer, remember that all of our playtime here is limited. So just try to be present, enjoy every step of the way, don't just obsess over the boss over the horizon. And with these objectives, if you want to know the 3 reasons why you're failing to get consistent in achieving them and how to fix it, consider clicking this video on the screen right now. But that's all I got. I hope you learned something from this. Bye-bye.